Hey guys, welcome to Chatterbox, your slice of life from ordinary people doing extraordinary things. I'm Andy True, and today we're going to be wrapping up the topic of taboo, which basically means things we're not allowed to talk about, think about, or do anything about, which makes me think, are there many taboos left in this world? Anyway, today we're going to check out delicious insects. We're also going to have a look at the dangers of denim on denim, and we will pose the question, if it's not your culture, are you allowed to dance to it? Now, I don't really know what that means, but our field reporter Adam does, so over to you, Adam.
What drew me to Bollywood is I've always really loved world music, all types of world music, and I find there's something quite infectious about the style of music. And I saw her perform, and there's a lot of facial choreography, hand mudras, and all these things that I thought were really challenging.
I was the only non-Polynesian in the dance company. So I had to work really hard to the point of tears, drilling and learning so much, learning about the language, learning the different meanings of all the hands, all the gestures, everything. So, but for me, it was just, it was so right and so important to really know how to do it and to do it well.
To go and learn Indian dance style is, if you haven't come from it, quite hard. But yeah, I found that, I guess because I learned from a friend as well, so I felt very welcomed in coming to the style.
I feel totally welcome. I think because, in Sydney, so many people are doing salsa who aren't, South American. So I don't feel any way sort of bad about trying to break into anyone else's dance form. And if anyone tried to make me feel bad, I don't think I would, because, I do ballet. People who aren't from Europe do ballet, so I think everyone should try different things.
I don't think it's crossing any boundaries to learn a different culture's dance. I think it's great. I love it. I'm from Tonga, but I guess they do shake their hips a lot, and so I guess that's why I like it, because I can do that kind of dance style.
I study belly dance. I'm also a belly dance teacher. I also study Afro-Latin, flamenco, a bit of salsa, and sometimes contemporary. Lately I've been doing hip hop. I try to do everything. A lot of Lebanese culture is to have your family around and have lots of food, and then you put music on and everyone just gets up and dances, and it doesn't matter what you look like or what you're wearing, it's just really about having fun.
With things that I would probably definitely not teach or choreograph myself would be Indian classical style, so that people train their whole lives and they go through a lot to learn the style, and it's very intrinsic and has a strong heritage.
For the Polynesian, yeah, there's definitely things that the guys are reserved for the guys, but it's not kind of, I don't know, it's not a major, yeah. It's more a tradition, yeah.
People see it as something that isn't traditional because they think it's a female dance, but at the same time, when a man does it, it just takes on a totally different characteristic. It's quite strong, it's quite masculine. It's just really a beautiful way of moving your body.
Yeah, there's so much you can learn and so much you can get from learning cultural dance. There's so much old tradition in dance, and then there's also lots of dance that, resembles the religious side of things as well. And I've actually done a little bit of Indonesian dancing also, and even that, it's just amazing, and some of the rituals and everything goes along with it. It's just beautiful.
Dancers definitely have a responsibility to understand the style, because you're handing it over to other people. So, and you're educating them.
I think it depends. I'm just a believer of doing what you love and do what you're passionate about. I think as a teacher, you have a responsibility when you're teaching the moves. I think it helps to know where they come from, to know what they mean, also to teach them properly. But I think when you're dancing, unless you're on stage or you have a particular performance where you have to do the moves correctly or technically, a certain way, I think it's really just about embracing it as your own and having your own style and being comfortable and just loving it.
Welcome back to Chatterbox and our tour on Taboo. Now it is fashion time, and what is fashion taboo? Now my take on this is when guys go out with a skirt or girls go out topless or people go dining in just trackies. But the truth is our local fashionista has more information than I do. So I'll pass this over to you, Vin. Tell us about it.
Oh, hi there. Welcome to winter season. Denim on denim. Wow. It's said to be one of the biggest fashion faux pas out there. And yet time and time again there are boys and girls pulling it off one way or the other. But how and why? Even more, flared jeans, bell bottoms, denim bags, all were the rage back then, but now they've fallen off as of late. I'm here to investigate why that's the case and see if double denim can be done.
If I'd wear it, I would wear a much lighter denim jacket and a much darker pair of jeans to give a good contrast. And I think that's a good balance if I had to wear denim on denim. I think girls have a easier time pulling off denim on denim than guys. I think it just suits them better. With guys, maybe you'd have to wear kind of like a vest rather than like the full shirt, because then it's kind of overkill.
With bell bottoms, people back in the day used to wear platforms, men and women. So the bell bottoms wouldn't get in the way and they wouldn't get dirty and they wouldn't be impractical. So it's the shoes with the jeans, the shoes with the pants, that kind of thing. Things like denim hats and denim bags, I guess, aren't really popular nowadays because other materials have taken over. Denim tends to be a bit heavier if you need to turn it into a hat, for example. With denim bags, I guess, if you're wearing jeans anyway, you probably don't want a double denim look. So that's possibly why denim bags aren't popular nowadays.
Not all denim are created equal. You have the deliberately faded light blue distressed jeans. Avoid this unless you want to be Steve Jobs or live in the 1980s. The best option I recommend is raw denim in an indigo color. These aren't distressed or faded, it's solid and it works with an amazing array of jackets, shirts and shoes. The next best option are jeans, which are dyed in a different color, like olives, greys, true blues, burgundies, and so on. If you want my advice, go with the classic indigo raw denim.
Double denim, a fashion taboo for decades, perpetrated by the public. Look at this guy. Thinks he's got swag. Little does he know, he has become a walking billboard for Levi's. Cool? I don't think so.
I think it's a huge fashion faux pas. I mean, if you're gonna do it, why don't you just rock up in your pajamas? That's matching material.
I know that in my own experiences, wearing stuff that might be outlandish and bold is a good way to kind of challenge the way I dress and not just stick to traditional customs and conventions.
Double denim can work if you follow these basic principles. The first is contrast. Wear something that's light on top or dark on the bottom and vice versa. You don't want to look like wallpaper. Second is the amount of items that's made out of denim. Don't go triple denim or quadruple denim like that fashion ad. Finally, you need confidence. Double denim is such a rarity amongst young communities like universities, cafes, clubs, and I can see why many say that's a fashion faux pas, because you'll stand out, but maybe for the wrong reasons. You'll be at risk looking like a walking 1980s relic, or a cowboy at a ranch, or denim on two legs. You don't want that. However, if you followed my simple rules from earlier, you'll be fine. This is Vin Ewan from Winter Season, signing off.
Welcome back to Chatterbox, your screen magazine. Now, food is a very culturally sensitive subject. One culture's holy cow could be another culture's Sunday roast. So the attitude really depends on who you are asking. Now, consider this, a really amazingly looking chocolate-coated cricket. Disgusting, I agree. But Maria Tran has more information about how insects can be delicious. I can't wait to see this.
Would you go out your way to eat bugs? Insects are now welcomed as the ultimate food. But why is bug eating so taboo in our culture? I'm Maria Tran, and for this segment of Story Bites, we're here to find out. Meet Sky Blackbird, an entomologist and an avid bug lover.
Most of the time we try and take the legs off just because they can get stuck in your teeth a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So I've eaten hundreds and hundreds of different kinds of bugs, and people would be quite interested to know that there's over 1,400 different kinds of edible insects that you can actually eat. You can eat things like flies as well, and grasshoppers, any type of cricket or mealworms. A lot of people like to eat different kinds of beetles and caterpillars. Insects are something that has 6 legs and 3 body parts, but when we're talking about edible insects, we also include arachnids in there as well, which would be spiders and scorpions. So most people think that eating bugs is quite taboo, but in our house it's quite normal, and I've got a nearly 2-year-old and she doesn't think anything of it because she's grown up eating insects. So I think especially in Asian countries as well, when they go to school they're given cricket stir fry, so they don't think twice about eating it. But here in the Western world, when we're little, our parents kind of tell us, don't stick that snail up your nose or don't put that worm in your mouth. So it kind of ingrains in your brain that eating bugs is gross or dirty in some kind of way, which it definitely isn't. So we've been breeding edible insects for about 5 years now, but definitely in the last 2 years it's been growing quite rapidly. A lot of people have been learning more about edible insects, how environmentally sustainable they are, what a great source of protein, and how nutritious they are as well. So people are buying them to cook at home, and we have a lot of customers that are growing them in their own backyard. Definitely our creepy creature candy is very popular. They've got real bugs on the inside, but it's a lollipop. They come in different colours and flavours.
Okay, here we go. Cricket, chili cricket, right? Tastes almost like chips. Yeah. Wow. That's my first bug ever, so that's great.
Through our website ediblebugshop.com.au, we actually sell to a lot of the top restaurants around Australia, and we have about 10 restaurants now that buy insects from us on a regular basis to serve to their customers.
This includes El Topo, a Mexican restaurant based in Bondi Junction. They've even added chapulines, an appetizer of roasted crickets, chili, garlic and lime.
I was surprised at how many people actually order them and actually have a go, which has been fantastic. Definitely an acquired thing. It's not like you'd go down to Woolworths and buy a packet of insects at the moment. You never know, that may happen in the next 10, 15 years, which would be, I guess, would be a good thing. But yeah, it's not a normal day-to-day thing that anyone else who goes specifically to a restaurant. These crickets here have already been roasted and boiled. They are nice and crispy now. Here we have some fried and dried out garlic, which goes with that as well. Fried and dried red chili. So a nice amount of each. We season it with, we've got a Murray River pink salt. And then some nice fresh lime zest. So you want to be gentle with the crickets, so you don't want to break them all off. We pop those in, and then normally we give it a little bit more fresh lime on top. Beautiful. And there we have our little crickets.
There you have it, guys. Bugs as food will soon go out of being taboo. But will you dare to try? Back to you in the studios.
You're watching Chatterbox!
This is Chatterbox and we're talking about sex. I mean, taboo. No, actually, we are talking about sex. But taboo. Anyway, our local tech guy is talking about sex and phone apps. Now, we're talking about all those things that you don't really want to talk about or let anyone know. Want to know more? Check this out.
I think one of the most interesting things about the relationship between technology, intimacy, relationship, sex, is the fact that now, finding whatever you're after, whether that's casual sex or a long-term partner, can be achieved with the tap of the iPhone or the tap of a smartphone or going onto a website, a dating website or a hookup site. I think it is really quite exciting that now we can form relationships and network without having to go to a bar or having to kind of necessarily put ourselves out there and face the possibility of rejection, which obviously terrifies a lot of people. But at the same time, it also means that we're negotiating new spaces. So for example, it can be quite easy to spend countless hours without even realizing it on your iPhone talking to 12 guys from different parts of Sydney, and each conversation taking you into a different direction. And there's a lot of emotional, intellectual labor as well as physical labor that comes with that, and a lot of people often don't think about that. And so in some ways what's possibly a little taboo now is not so much using dating apps, which obviously still does exist for a lot of people, but in fact talking about the emotional labor that comes with using a dating app. Often people are like, oh, why are you complaining? It's so easy now to hook up. And people forget that it's easier in some ways, sure, but at the same time the fact that it makes it easy also makes it hard. On one hand, you could be having this very exciting conversation with a guy that you're kind of keen to hook up with in the next half an hour, or you could be continuing more of a kind of romantic flirtation with someone who you're hoping to date, an ongoing conversation that you've been having for the last couple of days, and navigating between those conversations simultaneously, which you can do on Grindr, kind of takes it out of you a little bit because your emotions are kind of jarring really quickly between the other, and that does take a lot out, and I think it's quite hard for a lot of people to talk about that and kind of think about, well, wow, there's actually a lot of emotional work going on here. And it's easy to forget, emotional work in the form of relationships doesn't always just happen when it's face to face. It can also happen when it's mediated by your iPhone screen. People are very explicit about what they're after, and sometimes really unusually. Some people start conversations not necessarily with a hello or even after sex, but with a very rich description of their fetishes, their fantasies, as their opening line to a complete stranger. And it's been enormously interesting because it's very rare that you'll go to a club and someone will just approach you randomly and then provide you with a detailed description of what their sexual proclivities and aspirations are. But on Grindr, it makes it really easy for people because there's no immediate fear of rejection. I mean, the worst thing to happen to you is kind of, someone doesn't respond to what you say or kind of blocks you online. But because you're in your own environment, you feel kind of comfortable, kind of safe, you can, put yourself out there in ways that you probably couldn't do when you're kind of face to face with someone immediately.
Now, street artists by their nature are considered criminals. Many remain tight-lipped about their adventures, but there is one exception. Will Coles, who is a rebel sculptor, is challenging society's taboos and creating amazing concrete works. Let's have a look.
My name is Will Coles, and I'm kind of somewhere between pop art and conceptual, but I'm usually seen as being a street artist. It's been a favourable reaction. Reaction's good. The reaction I want is to people to think, because usually they kind of go, what is that? You got an object and they relate to the object, then they see the word, then they're trying to figure out what the word what relation the word has to the object. And then you started the process of thinking. Sometimes I want to make it so that people can't buy them, that they can only steal them. If they put in the effort, that if they can get it whole, they can have it. All the small stuff is meant to be seen by people. And most of my small stuff doesn't look right in a gallery anyway, because most of it is meant to be discarded rubbish. So if it's gloves or phones or remote controls, TVs, suitcases, skulls, it was always made to be put on the street anyway. So a lot of the time, to me, it looks weird being in a gallery. I find like the fat Buddha, he's meant to represent wealth and prosperity. And a lot of people, and peace, he's not meant to be a violent character, but so many people misinterpret what Buddhism is, and they talk about karma, and they really have no idea. They talk about karma as if it's a revenge principle, that if someone does something bad, karma will catch up with them, like karma police or something, and that's not what karma is meant to be. I do purposefully find icons that are already loaded. I think things like Mickey Mouse is a bit easy. Chesty Bonds is from the 1930s, where across the Western world they were all going for very much a sort of body fascism thing. Healthy, white, ideal that represented a country, and Chesty Bonds was meant to represent a kind of, not quite beach culture, but just what their idealized version of what an Australian was. So I've just kind of taken that and just updated him. I'm just kind of, I suppose just pushing it to its logical extreme of what people, if that's what they believe, then all right, let's go all the way. Well, I've been kind of reported and had to go to the police station and talk to them, and after about an hour you can kind of see they lose interest because it's difficult to charge me with anything, and then it kind of gets into art territory, and then it like does not compute. It's not their thing, they don't get it, and they just want it to go away. So I've taken part in a few exhibitions unofficially. Usually Sculpture by the Sea. I just basically go in at night and glue my stuff down. So it's either put in a few big pieces or put in 100 small pieces, but generally just take part in it because it's in a public space, it's our space, and it's taken over by people who've come in from outside. They're telling them that this is what contemporary art is. And most of the time, it's just a tiny bit. That doesn't represent everything. And like I said, my stuff is there to make people think, so it seems as good an event as any.
And that's a wrap for this episode of Chatterbox. We've only had a look at the tip of the iceberg of what Taboo is, and I'm sure you guys know much, much more. And feel free to share that on our Facebook page. But for now, my name is Andy True, and this is Chatterbox saying goodbye.
Action.